Welcome to Vignettes from the Life of Abdu'l-Baha, collected and edited by Anna Marie Honnold, recorded at Studio 1844 in Plano, Texas. His pure heart. Today, the most pressing of all tasks is the purification of character, the reforming of morals, the rectification of conduct. The pure heart is one that is entirely cut away from self. To be selfless is to be pure. At Wandsworth Prison, the master, Abdu'l-Baha, wrote in the Visitor's Book, "The greatest prison is the prison of self." When people said to Abdu'l-Baha how happy they were that he was now free, he replied, "Freedom is not a matter of place, but of condition. I was happy in that prison, for those days were passed in the path of service. To me, prison was freedom. Troubles are a rest to me. Death is life. To be despised is honor. Therefore, was I full of happiness all through that prison time. When one is released from the prison of self, that is indeed freedom, for self is the greatest prison. When this release takes place, one can never be imprisoned. Unless one accepts dire vicissitudes, not with dull resignation, but with radiant acquiescence, one cannot attain this freedom." Abdu'l-Baha was once asked, "What is Satan?" He replied in 3 words, "The insistent self." When a reporter of the New York Globe visited Abdu'l-Baha in Haifa, he gave her this message: "Tell my followers that they have no enemies to fear, no foes to hate. Man's only enemy is himself." Abdu'l-Baha had this to say of selfishness: "Self-love is a strange trait and the means of the destruction of many important souls in the world. If man be imbued with all good qualities but be selfish, all the other virtues will fade or pass away, and eventually he will grow worse." The first person singular seldom crept into the master's speech. He once told a group of New York friends that in the future the words I and me and mine would be regarded as profane. Lua Getzinger reported that one day she and Georgie Ralston were driving with the master. He closed his eyes and apparently fell asleep. Lua and Georgie talked on, probably about their own concerns, for suddenly the master's eyes sprang open and he laughed. "I, me, my, mine, words of the devil," he said. In 1914, the Christian Commonwealth carried words of praise for Abdu'l-Baha. It is wonderful to see the venerable figure of the revered Bahá'í leader passing through the narrow streets of this ancient town, Akka, where he lived for 40 years as a political prisoner, and to note the deep respect with which he is saluted by the Turkish officials and the officers of the garrison from the governor downward, who visit him constantly and listen with the deepest attention to his words. The master does not teach in Syria as he did in the West, but he goes about doing good, and Mohammedans and Christians alike share his benefactions. From sunrise, often till midnight, he works, in spite of broken health, never sparing himself if there is a wrong to be righted or a suffering to be relieved. To Christians who regard Abdu'l-Baha with impartial and sympathetic eyes, this wonderful selfless life cannot fail to recall that life whose tragic termination on Calvary the whole Christian world recalls. 2 pilgrims were at the master's luncheon table one day in 1908. He asked them if they were glad to be in Akka and if they were happy. They replied that they were very happy to be there with him, but unhappy when they thought of their own faults. "Think not of yourselves," he said, "but think of the bounty of God. This will always make you happy." Then with a smile, he referred to an Arabic saying about the peacock, who is contented because he never looks at his feet, which are very ugly, but always at his plumage, which is very beautiful. Only the Master, knowing the station bestowed upon him by Baha'u'llah, could say, as he did, "Look at me, follow me, be as I am. Take no thought for yourselves or your lives, whether ye eat or whether ye sleep, whether ye are comfortable, whether ye are well or ill, whether ye are with friends or foes, whether ye receive praise or blame. For all of these things ye must care not at all. Look at me and be as I am. Ye must die to yourselves and to the world. So shall ye be born again and enter the kingdom of heaven. Behold a candle, how it gives its light. It weeps its life away drop by drop in order to give forth its flame of light." The Master's life was centered on God, not on himself. To do God's will, to be his servant, were his concerns. He disliked photographs of himself, permitting them only to satisfy his friends. But to have a picture of oneself, he said, is to emphasize the personality, which is merely the lamp and is quite unimportant. The light burning within the lamp has the only real significance.